And I'm wondering, we do need a motion from a committee member here. Representative Howard, if you would be so kind to move, make sure I get the right number, House File 734 for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Very well. House File 734 then is formally before us. Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Chair Mariani and members of the committee. I'm pleased to bring House File 734 in front of you. It eliminates the statute of limitations for certain criminal sexual conduct offenses. You can read through sort of the details in the House Research Summary, and I want to, out of respect for your time, turn it over pretty quickly to our testifiers. Before I invite my first testifier up, though, I wanted to just introduce to you the women who are sitting next to me. We're not all going to testify, but it's just to say that this has really been an effort that's rooted in the community of survivors of this type of violence. And so I have Sarah Super right here, and Asma Mohammed from Reviving the Islamic Sisterhood for Empowerment. And they're both survivors and powerful advocates on this issue. And we're here because of their generosity in sharing their stories and sharing of themselves, and also their diligence and hard work in spending many years working on this issue. And because of that, we have bipartisan support for this effort, including a GOP chief author in the Senate. So I just want to say thank you. And we're going to invite up our first testifier. Ramsey County Attorney John Choi has joined us.
Very well. Welcome back to the committee, County Attorney Choi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. It's my pleasure to be here to support this bill, House File 734, and I want to thank Representative Gomez for bringing this forward. For the record, my name is John Choi. I am the Ramsey County Attorney, and I'm also here on behalf of the Minnesota County Attorneys Association, which also supports this bill. As the county attorney and former city attorney, I've been engaged in this work for the past 12 years, and much of that work has been devoted to combating gender-based violence. And many times I've had to communicate the inability for us to prosecute a particular defendant because of the statute of limitations. And also I've learned a lot being engaged in this work and working really directly with victims and understanding more about kind of the trauma and how difficult it is oftentimes for victims to come forward. And I know that there's still a lot of improvements that need to be made to make our criminal justice system more responsive to the victims. But one of those big improvements could be this bill before you, which is to eliminate essentially the statute of limitations for criminal sexual conduct with the exception of the fifth-degree CSE cases. And I wholeheartedly support this language because I think that it will provide the accountability and justice for our victims and our community. If you look at the legislative history of our statutes of limitations around criminal sexual conduct cases, what you will see is actually a societal evolution, an evolution of us, as we have come to better understand the victimization and the difficulties in victims coming forward and talking about and sharing their stories. It is something that is very, very difficult to do, and oftentimes it's because of the trauma, the hidden nature of the sexual abuse, and the social and the cultural barriers that exist that surround a victim as they think about reporting something that's happened to them. And I have come to know that really our cultural response in many ways is short, and also our system's response needs lots of improvements in this particular area. But by doing this, I believe that what it would do is that it would provide the opportunity and to recognize the fact that the truth is that many victims of sexual abuse don't talk about it, don't report it because they have fears that they may not be believed. They have thinking about the things that they might lose in terms of social consequences and a whole host of other things, just to name those things too, that they have to deal with. And so what this will do is that it would allow for, to recognize that time that it might take for a victim that's necessary for them to unpack the trauma that's happened to them, and also allow for us to bring someone to justice. And now I come here today I don't take lightly any type of changes with respect to statutes of limitations because they're there for very good reason. But they're there to protect the defendant primarily. And I think we need to think about it in the context of victims. In this particular case, I think based upon what we know about the trauma and how hard it is for victims to come forward. And we also know, just in the study that we did in April, that we just completed in April of 2018, that looked at our systems response, a quarter of the victims that actually do come forward to law enforcement, they actually drop out of the investigation at some point. And it's really not their fault. It's probably the fault of us in the system not serving those victims properly. And so there are lots of issues that I think this bill could actually achieve. And so I'm here today to stand with the advocates who have been working so hard, and Representative Gomez and many of you to call for a change with respect to this law. So thank you very much.
Thank you, County Attorney Choi. Very eloquently put and very powerfully put as well. Representative O'Neill, you and I have had these conversations from the very beginning, and it really goes to the core of the profound cultural change that is needed in our society, which is moving, I believe. And in many ways, legal or statutory proposals like these are in some ways trying to catch up where the hearts and minds and spirit of our society is moving as we open our eyes and become wiser and deeply inclusive of all sorts of communities that have not benefited from good, balanced justice. Obviously, women in particular, other gender-based victims, as well as communities of color. So this is it's a powerful conversation, frankly, I believe the Minnesota legislature is having now. Thank you for helping to lead us in, as a practitioner in the field. County Attorney Choi.
Mr. Chairman, also I failed to neglect that my colleague, Commissioner Jim McDonough, is here also in support of this legislation, and also Assistant Ramsey County Attorney Karen Long, who could answer some questions if you have any, if you want to delve into the details, who also was involved with our systems review that we published back in April of 2018.
Well, welcome to the Minnesota House County Commissioner and Assistant County Attorney. Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Laura Stearns, want to come up?
Thank you. My name is Laura Stearns, and I really want to thank you all for the opportunity to tell my story today. The first time that I was sexually assaulted, I was 10 years old. And I was assaulted in my bedroom while I was playing with stuffed animals on my floor by a friend of my brother's. And this person silenced me by threatening me, and also while he was assaulting me by putting his hand over my mouth. It's just an example of how victims are silenced that I want to express. The second time that I was sexually assaulted, I was 15 by Jason McLean, who was an adult company actor at the Children's Theater Company. This time I was silenced by Mr. McLean, as well as the culture that I was embedded in at the Children's Theater, that made me believe that I was responsible and that his behavior was normal and to be expected. Being sexually assaulted is like no other crime because it affects us at the core of who we are as human beings. These crimes leave us shrouded in confusion and fear and shame, which silences us. Perpetrators of sexual crimes know this, and they use it to their advantage. I was in my 30s working through these assaults in therapy before I was able to completely understand and embrace the fact that I had not only had bad things happen to me, but that these were actually criminal actions that were taken, perpetrated against me. I was in my late 40s before I felt safe enough to talk to any people other than my therapist or my husband about what had happened to me. And that was after many years of processing these things in therapy. It takes time. Sometimes it takes a really long time. The Minnesota Child Victims Act gave me an opportunity to tell the story of what happened to me and my fellow students at the Children's Theater Company. It gave us the opportunity to reveal the level of negligence that existed in an institution that allowed perpetrators like Jason McLean to allow them to be successful. What the Child Victims Act didn't do was provide a way for me to hold Mr. McLean accountable for his actions. Because of the fact that the statute exists, McLean was allowed to sell off his assets and flee to Mexico. He is a serial perpetrator, and he should not be running a business in Mexico. He should be in jail. The system as it exists is slanted in the favor of the people who perpetrate sexual crimes. There are many things that need to happen and be established in order to shift the power dynamic away from sexual predators. Teaching children, women, and marginalized members of our society that they have agency over their bodies, and educating professionals so they can be trauma-informed is crucial in affecting change, but it isn't enough. As our understanding of how victims are affected evolves, we need to evolve the laws as well to give the victims of these crimes the gift of time. And I want to thank you all for your time today and considering this very important bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony today, Ms. Stearns.
Thank you.
Representative Gomez.
Devonna Pittman is the next testifier.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for hearing us on today. My very first,
And I'm sorry, ma'am,
you hear me?
you'll need to state your name for the record.
Devonna Pittman.
Very well. Thank you so much.
My very first sexual violation happened when I was 5 years old in preschool. It was a very confusing moment for me, and I didn't know how to articulate it. I'm a survivor of sexual violence. At the age of 32, I disclosed to my family and loved ones what had happened. It was something that I had never said out loud to anyone. I had been a victim of sexual violence. I don't know that reporting it was ever an option. I'd known other young women and girls who had been violated. They reported it and didn't get justice. Then there were those who never reported it because they thought no one would believe them or believe that they didn't want it. So who would believe me? Was it worth it to dissect the trauma, to recount horrific details in front of people I didn't know or people who might not believe me? Was it worth it to sit in court day after day and not get justice? Was it worth it to deal with the aftermath of being a sexual violence victim? For me, reporting it was never an option. Not 24 hours after the incident, reporting it wasn't even an option a decade after the incident. Men and women who suffer sexual trauma are often psychologically paralyzed. As a survivor, I pretended it never happened. Victims of sexual violence often hide behind the curtain of shame, but they are among us everywhere we turn. I am one of many. Many survivors arrive at the point of feeling like they can cope, but we are never, ever whole again. I smiled when I wanted to cry. I laughed when I wanted to grieve. The seemingly impenetrable barrier of shame can only be explained by someone who has experienced the very essence being ripped from their soul. It can only be explained by those who have, by some default mechanism, figured out just how to get through another day. Individuals who strip peace and solitude from innocent victims should not be granted the right to peace and solitude. Eliminating the statute of limitations for perpetrators will hold repeat offenders accountable, and it will remind sexual predators that there are consequences for their deviance. We need as much time to heal, to be ready to disclose horrific details, and to literally one day face our perpetrators. The strength that is needed to break through the horror of being violated cannot be bound by a statute of limitation. Victims of sexual violence need the assurance of knowing that whenever they come forward, that there will be justice for them. And most importantly, there will be consequences for their perpetrator. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman, for your testimony. Representative Gomez.
The next testifier is Linda Thompson.
Welcome to the committee, Ms. Thompson.
Hello, my name is Linda Thompson, and my Indian name is Eagle Coming Woman. I am Bear Clan. I am from the Boys Fort Band of Ojibwe and a descendant of both Leech Lake and Mille Lacs Lake. I am the mother to 6 children and some grandkids now, former foster parent and an adoptive parent. I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to speak to you today about eliminating the time limit for reporting felony sexual violence in Minnesota. I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. I am currently the membership and outreach coordinator for the Minnesota Indian Women Sexual Assault Coalition. We are a statewide tribal coalition and a national tribal technical assistance provider. Our coalition membership spans the entire state and includes 108 individuals and 38 organizational representatives. Also, tribal communities, and we do include urban representation in this number as well. We provide training, education, and technical assistance to programs, and in addition, we provide technical assistance to tribes and community organizations across the country who are addressing sexual violence and sex trafficking. I have been a domestic violence and sexual assault advocate for over 25 years, both in an urban setting and on a tribal reservation. We know the statistics are 1 out of 3 Native girls and 1 out of 5 Native boys will be abused in their lifetime. But actually, the crime of sexual violence knows no boundaries, from elders to infants, from urban, tribal, and rural settings, and all genders have unfortunately experienced the crime of sexual violence. I have heard members of my own family, including 2 of my children, and many of our people tell about the sexual violence they experienced. Yes, sometimes it was days, weeks, months, and even years or decades passed before they told anybody what happened or who had hurt them. Some said they didn't remember what had happened until early adulthood, while in recovery from addiction, in counseling, church, while in the middle of crisis or while experiencing anxiety. Something triggered their memories, whether it was a smell, a song, a place, a visual image. It opened a place of remembering that trauma, a time when someone had hurt them sexually. I have presented at many conferences, providing information, education, and training on the crime of sexual violence. Almost always, when I am done talking, I have someone come and talk to me and want to tell me what had happened to them or to somebody that they loved. When there is a distance between sexual violence and the reporting, I believe there are numerous reasons why the people do not report, at least this is what I've been told from my family. Sometimes it is the safety, fear, or threats that can contribute to the unknowing or forgetting because of now the person or child is in survival mode. The mind and the body has a way to protect us. The effects contribute to what is acknowledged now as complex trauma. It may not come out immediately following the incident, but through education, school, whether we're in school and businesses, community, through the movies or the use of media, we have increased the reporting, but there also remains people who do not have a safe space or place or person to tell what has happened to them. We have developed newer forms of investigative techniques, and the use of technology empowers investigations to crimes that have happened years and years ago. Many times when one person comes forward and tells what happened, it opens up a floodgate, and other people feel safe enough to tell. I have witnessed this happen in communities. One person tells, and then others follow and disclose what happened from the same alleged perpetrator. For many victims, survivors, having the validation from the criminal justice system is the first step in their healing journey. At the end of it all we really want and deserve is a safe community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Thompson. Representative Gomez, you have another testifier?
That's the end of my testifiers, Mr.
Very
Chair.
well. Well, let me just take then a quick second here to acknowledge our testifiers, in particular Ms. Stearns, Ms. Pittman, and Ms. Thompson, for the courage of your testimony, for the courage of your journey to find who you are and not have that have been defined by others. And for the strength of your voice to fully expect that your legislature walk with you and walk with others who are survivors and victims. We certainly pray for the wisdom to be able to construct better laws that provide protection, that provide true justice. So thank you for your presence here today. It's vitally, vitally important. Perhaps this might be a good time for questions from the committee of Representative Gomez and/or any of our testifiers, and then I'll open it up for the general public. Representative Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to thank Representative Gomez for bringing this bill. Really appreciate you taking the lead on this, and also to the survivors who had the strength to share your stories with us today. We really appreciate your courage and all of the advocacy you're doing. So you're trying to make things better for other people, and we really very much appreciate that. I just also really wanted to highlight what you said, Ms. Stearns, about perpetrators silencing victims, and really the way the statute of limitations is written now, it's another way that silences victims. So I think that this is time to make this change. I did just have one question, I think, just for clarity, so people are clear that the effective date for this doesn't look back in time, that we can't constitutionally change that to look back in time. And I just wanted to get your verification of that, if you would, Representative Gomez.
You got it. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Representative Mueller. So this is for crimes that happen moving forward from the state or from the enactment.
And I do want to acknowledge we have an assistant county attorney from Ramsey County, can also help questions. I think our county attorney, John Choi, needed to leave. Representative Mueller, you're
I'm good.
Right.
Thank you.
Good. Other members? Representative Grassel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, the County Attorneys Association, where do they stand on this?
Representative Gomez.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Representative Grassel, John Choi, County Attorney Choi was here in a capacity representing both his office and the County Attorneys Association, and they support this legislation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Johnson.
Chair Mariani, Representative, I want to thank you for bringing this forward. It's something I think we do need to look at. The toughest part is, I know Representative Grassel probably as well actually had to work one of these cases. They're very difficult. I've worked many cases, not just in the sexual assault field. I've worked homicides. A homicide is easier to convict than a sexual assault. To get a good conviction, the sooner the report, the better, because we need the evidence. Because our Constitution is set up as innocent until proven guilty. And it's got to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And the longer the time goes, the harder it is to get that conviction. And we've seen in the news over the last few years what appears to be a lot of false accusations from years ago. I want to make sure that we can protect the innocent as well as convict the guilty. So it's a tight rope you're walking here, and I appreciate you trying to do this because it is important, but we also want to make sure we do it right to protect all the innocent people.
Representative Gomez.
Mr. Chair and Representative, thank you for the question. I just want to clarify that nothing in this piece of legislation changes the threshold of evidence that you have to present in order to convict someone. Also, what we actually know, what's in the data, is that false accusations are incredibly rare. And you spoke to the difficulty, right, of actually making one of these cases. And so in the few cases where there might be a false accusation, they still have to meet that threshold. And so I guess, with respect, I don't think that objection is really very substantial in this case because, like I said, all of the evidentiary requirements are there.
Very well. Representative O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to that point real quickly, because this language is also contained in a bill that I will have up next, and so I'm going to kind of make points on both sides. So I actually have the fiscal note in front of me, and for all the different parts of the bill I have, but it also includes the elimination of the statute of limitations. And if you look out into the out years, it's projected through the fiscal note that if you look out as far as 2032, it might result in 7 more convictions. So the bar, as you know, Representative Johnson, is incredibly high. So I just wanted to point that out, that this is fantastic. And I think what's the best part about this, though, is that there is now an understanding in the community of those that have been assaulted that it takes as long as it takes, right? Your journey takes as long as it takes. Law enforcement will be there for you when you're ready. And I think that's the message that we want to send. So if we accomplish nothing, which we will, because this will accomplish at least 7 more cases a year. But even if it had 2, it's still 2 more convictions more than we had before, because we know our conviction rate is very low. But it sends a message to all victims that we are there for you, and that this is as important as a murder case. Even though the victim is alive, they are alive, and they are wounded, and they are hurting. And so I appreciate you bringing this forward. And I had had this in my bill before, and I need to circle back and get myself on your bill. We're a bit busy, so I need to circle back and do that. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very well. Representative Pinto?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd been thinking about this too, that I guess I agree with the point that these are very difficult cases to prove to begin with, and thinking about proving a case decades later, it's very, very difficult. And so just when I've thought about the practicalities of this along the way, I've had some challenges and been supportive, but then especially in hearing the testimony today, I'm feeling even better about that, just because the thought of, regardless of what it does for an individual case, and it may well be helpful for an individual case, it's just so powerful. I want to thank the testifiers for just pointing out the message that it sends to those who've experienced sexual violence, and then certainly to perpetrators. I can't say that line again, but just about somebody who has the certainty and the peace, who's committed sexual violence, of saying, oh, now I know that I couldn't possibly prosecute it for that. I'm such a powerful message. So thank you so much to Representative Gomez and to the testifiers. And Mr. Chair, I do need to acknowledge the Assistant County Attorney in question is Karen Long from Ramsey County, and she's actually the one of the 2018 Attorneys of the Year named by Minnesota Lawyer Magazine, which she would probably not want to point out, but I'm going to point out on her behalf. She's and a colleague of mine in the Ramsey County Attorney's Office, and really just one of the top attorneys in the state. I'm working on this, and prosecutors, and proud to have her as a colleague and be working on this. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Gomez.
Representative Pinto, at the risk of being a little jingoistic, as a Ramsey County citizen and resident, I am not surprised. Karen Long's quality of service and being acknowledged as such. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to testify on House File 734? Please come forward. And members, we have about another half hour or so. I want to make sure we get to Representative O'Neill's bill, because that one we were teeing up weeks ago, and the polar vortex decided to intervene. And we do have a very important testifier that we want to make sure we honor her presence here on her testimony. But please, ma'am, give us your name and proceed with your testimony.
My name is Keila Marie Granda. Thank you so much, Chair and Committee, for hearing me. I've had the opportunity to be here before, and this is my second time, and I just want to say thank you for the incredible work that you're doing. I will keep it short. So again, my name is Keila Marie Granda. I'm the Executive Director of Unspoken Voices, a nonprofit that works in violence prevention and response. I've been in this field and served as an advocate for over a decade. Several years ago, I was actually brutally raped myself by a colleague. We were working together on violence prevention education for high schools. And I was drugged and repeatedly raped over the span of several hours. I reported the rape. I did what you were supposed to do. I even wore a wire going back into the individual's home and was able to capture him stating that he knew that I was not able to consent, that he knew that I had no idea what was going on. The case moved forward for several months, and then it was dropped a week before trial. I was scared, I was terrified for the trial, but at least I knew I'd have a chance to have my voice heard. Week before the trial, charges were dismissed. They were dismissed because it was revealed that I had previously been sexually assaulted, and that my urine, the police had lost the chain of custody on my urine, and it was destroyed. So even with a taped admission of guilt, even with knowing that this individual was in a position of power and had, there were reports that he had done similar things in the past, even with all of that, the case was dropped. He was free to live his life. He is a high school principal. He is in a position of authority. He coaches girls basketball and volleyball. It was a tragedy. It was not just to me, but to every victim everywhere, that this man would now have the opportunity to continue harming, to continue using his authority to be able to do something, to be able to do what he did to me, to do to others. My statute of limitations runs out in December 2019. That power that was taken from me, first by this individual, and second by the system, will never be regained. I have worked in this field and continue to work in this field as a survivor, speaking for other survivors, because I hope that through this we can regain our voice. Unfortunately, for me, I'm at an end. In 2019, I'm at an end. But I don't want that to be the case for other survivors, and I just urge, I implore you, please, to consider this bill, because the amount, what you're doing is you're giving power back to individuals who've lost their ability, their will. You're giving that power back. And I ask you to please consider doing so, because what we have, what we need, rests in your hands. And I just again urge you to support this. Thank you so much for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your voice and your testimony here today, Ms. Granda, and for your courage to consistently expect publicly that your legislative body respond to you and to other survivors as well. Thank you. Representative Gomez, I think we're at the final words for you, for now, that is, until we lay the bill over. And so I turn to you for your final comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and I just want to once again just express my profound gratitude to all of you for being here today. To Ms. Stearns and Ms. Pittman and Ms. Thompson and Ms. Grande and Ms. Mohammed and Ms. Super, for being vulnerable with us and allowing us to hopefully understand a little bit more than we did half an hour ago. So thank you. And I would ask for the committee's support for House File 734.
Yes, of course. Vitally important bill. Thank you, Representative Gomez. With that, the chair lays House File 734 over for possible inclusion in our omnibus bill.